Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in. We have a lot to cover today. Lawmakers exiting a classified briefing with U.S. intelligence officials insisted they received assurances that there's nothing nefarious going on with all the recent uptick in drone sightings in New Jersey. We have to just trust them, though, because they can't tell us what they know. If they tell us, they'll have to kill us. The Democrats and never-Trumpers are in a tailspin because House Republicans just dropped a bombshell report yesterday on the failures and politicization of the now-disbanded January 6th committee. And guess what? They're calling for a criminal investigation into none other than Liz Cheney. This is going to be interesting to watch. The San Francisco Department of Public Health has just hired a fat positivity advocate as their so-called anti-weight-based discrimination expert to consult on weight stigma and weight neutrality. You're going to love this one. And NCAA President Charlie Baker just told women's college athletes who are uncomfortable sharing locker rooms, restrooms with transgender athletes that the burden is on them to find other accommodations. Senator John Kennedy had the quote of the day. You'll want to hear this.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
We have additional information about the 15-year-old shooter in Wisconsin. We'll update you on that. But first, let's start with the continued drone mystery that's got people along the East Coast, especially in New Jersey, scratching their heads and asking for answers, asking for some explanations. Lawmakers were in a classified briefing with U.S. intelligence officials, and while they're saying nothing nefarious is going on, they can't tell us what is going on because it was a classified briefing. Again, this is one of those, situations where if they tell you, they got to kill you. Here's what happened. Yesterday, officials with the CIA, the FBI, or FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and the Defense Department met with the House Intelligence Committee to address the recent uptick in these drone sightings. It has dominated the headlines for a couple of weeks now. And get this, the FBI has received over 6,000 tips from the public about these mysterious drones. But according to Representative Jim Hines, a Democrat from Connecticut, there's no evidence that these drones are linked to anything malign. Don't worry. It's okay. Hines said, we asked this question over and over and over again. They are not linked to the U.S. government, he said. We were assured of that. Yeah, sure. So they're saying it's not a government operation, but people are still seeing these things hovering over coastal areas, sensitive infrastructure, and even restricted airspace. Now the official line is that many of these sightings are just planes, helicopters, hobbyist drones, or even stars. Yeah, stars. You're seeing stars flying around up there. They're flashing red and blue and all these other colors. That's why they want you to believe that this is nothing to be concerned about. People on the ground, though, who are seeing these drones, say that they're the size of cars. Representative Chris Smith, he's a Republican from New Jersey, says he's not buying it. He says he's not buying the line that there's nothing to see here. He's pushing legislation to give state police the power to track and, if necessary, take down these drones. He's calling for decisive action. And he says, this is not just about our curiosity. It's about our national security. And here's something else. On Friday, government agencies are set to lose their counter-drone authority unless Congress reauthorizes it. Now, this is good timing, isn't it? Lawmakers are scrambling to include an extension in the upcoming spending bill But we need more than an extension. We need a serious overhaul of the law to give state and local law enforcement the tools they need to detect, intercept, and disable rogue drones, if in fact that's what we're seeing here. A Democrat rep from Illinois admitted that the, quote, technology of drones has outpaced the law. They're right. We're dealing with the wild west of the skies right now, and while some of the lawmakers are satisfied with the briefing, the public is still left kind of wondering what's really going on here. And maybe we'll look back on this and we'll realize this has just gotten blown out of proportion. But why can't someone tell us? That's the crazy thing. They're telling us, well, it's okay, don't worry about it, but they won't tell us what it really is. Even though the DHS, the FBI, the FAA, and the Pentagon are saying there's no evidence these drones are a threat, it doesn't mean we shouldn't be on high alert, right? When you've got drones flying over restricted airspace, near critical infrastructure, that's kind of a problem, isn't it? We need answers because this isn't just a New Jersey problem. Again, it's a national security problem that affects all of us. Meanwhile, the Defense Department doubled down, saying that the increasing number of possible drones being reported in places like New Jersey and New York are not U.S. military assets, adding that the vast majority of the unmanned aircraft are likely just hobbyists for recreational purposes. Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Pat Ryder fielded numerous questions from reporters about the drones during a press briefing yesterday, but he remained clear that the drones are not Department of Defense assets, nor are they part of any experimental programs.
That are flying over military bases at this point, have there been any possibilities of collecting what sort of information these drones are doing or anything like that?
Yeah, again, just to kind of put this into context, and I know that our colleagues at the White House, FAA, DHS, FBI have all made this point. So over 1 million drones registered in the United States, and on any given day, approximately 8,500 drones are in flight. And so the vast majority of these drones are going to probably be recreational or hobbyist. They're going to be commercial drones, used in things like architecture, engineering, farming, or they could be used for law enforcement. Is it possible that some of those drones could be up to malign activity? It's entirely possible, but the vast majority, that is not the case. And in the case of drones flying near or over U.S. military installations, that in and of itself, just given the volume of drone flights we see on a given day, is not something that's new. We take all of those seriously. We will typically, when we detect them, attempt to classify them and take appropriate measures. Is it possible that some of those are surveilling? Absolutely. But can you make that assumption in every case? Not necessarily. So in each case, commanders have the authority, installation commanders and authorities have the authority to respond appropriately, and will continue to do that.
You heard him quote, "Is it possible that some of these drones could be up to malign activity?" It's entirely possible, he said. But let's not be alarmed. Let's just sit back, wait, and see what happens. We're learning more about the tragic school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin on Monday. Newly uncovered photos, online accounts linked to the 15-year-old who has been identified as the shooter suggest an obsession with other school shooters, including the infamous Columbine killer Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. This is the kind of story that has to make every parent's heart sink. There's a photo posted by this young lady, by her father, I should say, showing her at a shooting range aiming a rifle wearing a T-shirt from KMFDM. I'm not familiar with this, but I'm told it's the same German industrial rock band that Eric Harris idolized and wore before he carried out the Columbine massacre. Remember, this young lady ended her rampage the same way Harris and Klebold did too, by turning the gun on herself. And that's a bit unusual for a female to kill themselves, number one, but secondly, to use a gun to do so. The evidence points to a disturbing online presence. An X account, according to the New York Post, believed to belong to this young lady, posted a cryptic message flashing the OK sign, a symbol linked to other school shooters, according to the Anti-Defamation League. The account also shared videos of other school attacks, including the 2015 Sweden stabbing and the 2007 Finland shooting. There are even posts referencing Parkland shooter Nicholas Cruz. Also, a Tumblr account believed to be this young lady's featured images of guns and screenshots from other school shootings. So she obviously was obsessed with school shootings. This paints a picture of a young person by a dark and violent ideology, someone who was very troubled and probably should have been a red flag, but it's led to the debate now, who's responsible for this? The question on everyone's mind, how did this happen? How did a 15-year-old get her hands on a handgun? Both Wisconsin and federal law forbid anyone under 18 from possessing a firearm, yet she had one. So who's responsible? Should the parents be held responsible? That's a question. That's part of the debate that's going to take place now. What responsibility do these parents have for their daughter's actions? And that's a tough one. Personally, I don't think the parents had a clue. And can parents be held responsible for this type of action? What about all the people who knew about her social media post and her obsession with guns online? Should they have come forward? This is one of those where hindsight is 20/20. Knowing what we know now would be easy to say, but just a few days ago, it probably wasn't obvious. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. If you've been putting off a visit to PhD Weight Loss, now's your time because it comes with an amazing free gift. Joey Hudson here. During December, the founder of PhD Weight Loss, Dr. Ashley Lucas, is giving the first 100 people to sign up for a consultation a free weight loss and energy supplement bundle. What a great gift. Do what I did. Take control now before heading into the indulgent holiday season. Get a grasp and avoid the holiday pounds. I dropped over 30 pounds and I'm not worried about parties and overeating because my PhD coach taught me coping mechanisms to help me enjoy holiday events without gaining the weight. Best of all, I never took a weight loss drug. I'm not dependent on a prescription. And I was never hungry. PhD Weight Loss is not about depriving yourself. Lose the awful belly fat, gain energy, and avoid weight-related health issues. You will feel so amazing about yourself and truly enjoy the holiday season. PhD Weight Loss. Ask about the free gift when you book your consultation. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or go to myphdweightloss.com. Continuing today's show, one more quick thing while we're talking about crime. Luigi Mangione, have you noticed how that shooting has kind of taken a back seat now to this young lady who shot a teacher and a fellow student, killed them this week and shot others, wounded others? Luigi Mangione has been indicted on charges in connection with the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson that could send him to prison for life. The 26-year-old was indicted in New York yesterday on charges including first-degree murder and furtherance of terrorism, which is an upgrade from earlier charges, according to ABC News. According to Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office, the New York State Supreme Court indictment also included 2 counts of second-degree murder, one of which is charged as a killing in the act of terrorism, 2 counts of second-degree criminal possession of a weapon, 4 counts of third-degree criminal possession of a weapon, 1 count of fourth-degree criminal possession of a weapon, and 1 count of second-degree criminal possession of a forged instrument. Mangione is already charged with murder in the December 4th shooting of the CEO, but terror allegations is new. Those have been added to the charges. Mangione is currently detained on separate charges in Pennsylvania, where he was arrested last week. His next court date is on tomorrow. Attorney Karen Friedman tells CNN that Mangione won't fight being extradited to New York now. On the text line, texter says, wonder if those in the Biden administration that came up with the clemency list got paid. Interesting. I guarantee you there were some deals, some back and forth, probably some big donations given somehow. Sherry writes on the text line, hey, Joey, the people that are purchasing the wall supplies from the Biden administration should donate them back to the Trump administration for free and be able to deduct the expense as a donation on their taxes. A good idea there, Sherry. She says another thing is, have you noticed that the change in commercials on TV since the election, or is it just me? Before the election, it seemed every commercial showed interracial couples or families, but after the election, it seems that they're not showing them quite as often. Wonder who was pushing that. Wonder who was pushing that before the election and who decided to change it. Keep up the work you do. I enjoy your podcast. Thank you. Appreciate that, Sherry. There's going to be a lot of changes that we're going to see coming up real quick. Faye writes, Faye on the MyPillow message line says maybe the drones are searching for the wackos who've been running the country for the past 4 years.
Good morning, Joey. This is Faye calling to wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas. Joey, it has been a real joy to be able to listen to you in 2024, and we're looking forward to 2025 with you when President Trump returns our country to sanity. I'll tell you, Joey, I think these drones are actually looking for the wackos that have been running our country for the past 4 years. That's my thought. Thanks, Joey.
Thank you, Faye, and your message is welcome on the MyPillow message line as well. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639, and always use promo code Joey when you go to the MyPillow.com website. They have their Christmas extravaganza going on right now. Regular price on things like the My Slippers, they're $119.98 normally. With promo code Joey during the Christmas extravaganza, you get them for only $59.98. The 6-piece towel set, this is a deal. They're back in stock, $29.98 for a 6-piece towel set. And I'll tell you, folks, they'll be the best towels, most absorbent, the softest towels you'll ever own. Got to use promo code Joey when you call 800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. The bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, everything is on sale during the Christmas extravaganza. Plus, you're going to get a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee that has been extended into March of next year. So go to mypillow.com or call 800-893-4059. Always use promo code Joey to get the very best deal. So here's a big one that's got the Democrats and the never-Trumpers in a tailspin. The House Republicans dropped a bombshell report yesterday on the failures and politicization of the now-disbanded January 6th committee. And guess who they're going to investigate? Liz Cheney. Couldn't have come to a nicer person. The report lays out how Nancy Pelosi's multi-million-dollar circus of a committee was nothing more than a political weapon, we knew that, aimed at one thing, blaming President-elect Donald Trump for January the 6th, smearing his legacy, and trying to make it impossible for him to run again. This was about deception, it was about distraction, and they were trying to destroy Donald Trump. The report, led by Representative Barry Loudermilk, calls for the FBI to investigate former Representative Liz Cheney for witness tampering over her contacts with star witness Cassidy Hutchinson. Cheney's defenders are already out there saying this is nonsense. But let's not forget what really happened here. Hutchinson, who changed lawyers, claimed her first attorney, Stefan Passatino, pressured her to, quote, forget certain details. And when she switched teams, she suddenly had all these blockbuster stories to tell. The report shows text messages between Hutchinson and Alyssa Farah Griffin, another former Trump aide who acted as a back channel to Cheney. Now, is that witness tampering? That's the question that's being asked. The report says it's unusual and potentially unethical for a member of Congress to contact a witness who has legal counsel. What is clear here, folks, is Cheney was out there. She was pulling strings. She is making sure the narrative was exactly what she and the anti-Trump mob wanted. Cheney also, she's firing back in her defense, of course. She's calling Trump a cruel and vindictive man, she said, who allowed violent attacks to happen. This is the same Liz Cheney who threw away her career to be a pawn for the Democrats, and she still hadn't figured it out yet. She still hadn't figured out that they used her. They didn't care about Liz Cheney. They cared about the optics of a Republican turning on a Republican president. That's all they cared about. And Liz Cheney fell for it. And let's not forget that the January 6th committee was a complete sham from the start. We could see right through that. It was a handpicked by Nancy Pelosi, and she added a couple of never-Trumpers like Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger just for effect. They ignored real security failures, like why Pelosi refused to deploy the National Guard ahead of time. Instead, they focused on spinning a tale to take down Trump. Now, with this report, we're going to see the truth. We're going to get to the truth finally. And Liz Cheney's probably not going to like it. Loudermich's report also raises questions about the deletion of evidence by the January 6th panel. The former committee members claimed they retained everything they needed. Really? Well, why are there gaps? What are they hiding? We're going to find out. Have you finished with your Christmas shopping yet? Well, I have some good news for you. MyPillow is glad to announce that their Christmas extravaganza is continuing. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98 when you use promo code Joey. And they're not going to last very long at this price. The famous My Slippers, they haven't been on sale for over a year. They're regularly priced at $119.98. Now, with promo code Joey, you can get them for $59.98. And the 6-piece towel set, these towels, you've heard me talk about them. They're very soft, but yet they are absorbent. Most times, you're not going to get a towel this absorbent. When you use promo code Joey, when you go to MyPillow.com or call 800-893-4059, you're going to get them for just $29.98 with promo code Joey. $29.98 for a 6-piece towel set. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. Bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-893-4059. Use promo code Joey to get the very best deal on every single item, and Merry Christmas to you. All right, get ready for this one because you're not going to believe it. You know, sometimes you see these type of stories and you think, somebody's making this up. Somebody's punking me. The San Francisco Department of Public Health has just hired a so-called anti-weight-based discrimination expert to consult on weight stigma and weight neutrality. Somebody tell me, what is weight neutrality? And who did they bring in for this role? Well, none other than Virgie Tovar, who is a self-described fat positivity advocate. I don't know what a fat positivity advocate is either, unless it's someone who is fat and is proud of it. I guess. I don't know. You can't make this stuff up. Tovar is the author of books like You Have the Right to Remain Fat, because apparently that's the message she likes to send. She's been on a crusade against diet culture, even BMI metrics, claiming that the medical advice she received as a child to lose weight was harmful to her health. Being overweight, and look, by the way, there's a photo of her in this New York Post article. She's a pretty large lady. And look, I've been in a situation where I was too fat in the past too. And thank goodness for PhD weight loss, I was able to lose that weight. I was never obese like this lady is. This lady looks huge. But I don't think you're going to convince anyone that someone wants to remain obese to the detriment of their health. She proudly announced her role on Instagram, calling it an absolute dream come true. Well, sure, somebody pays you. Basically, San Francisco is paying her to be fat. Isn't that what we're witnessing here? Her dream is to promote weight neutrality, whatever that means. In public health policy, that's what she's been hired to do. And she's unbelievably proud to serve the city she's called home for 20 years, she says. I guess this kind of stuff in San Francisco, I guess this type of thing qualifies as public health policy now. I don't know. We're not talking about treating people with dignity and respect. Everyone deserves that. We're talking about a dangerous new trend where health realities are ignored in favor, I guess, of political correctness, if you listen to this lady. You've got the experts, like her, like Ms. Tovar, saying that exercise, healthy eating, or even weight loss is somehow harmful. In her corporate training, she actually tells people to stop talking about diet, stop talking about your body, and exercise at work. Seriously? What's next? Banning any mention of broccoli because it's triggering? It triggers somebody? She's also out there rejecting drugs like Ozempic. I can't argue with her there. I'm not sold on the whole idea that these weight loss drugs are healthy. This, of course, is a medication that's helping millions lose weight. getting healthy. But it's my understanding you're always going to have to take the shot or you'll gain the weight back. I prefer doing it the PhD way, where they teach you how to manage your own weight. You don't have to rely on drugs. Look, this isn't the point of healthcare to help people feel better about being overweight. And again, I want to be sensitive. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But I've never met anyone who was overweight who wanted to be overweight necessarily. It's a struggle. If you've struggled with your weight, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a daily struggle to maintain a healthy weight. Let's not forget, though, that San Francisco is the same city struggling with out-of-control homelessness, out-of-control crime, drug addiction. I mean, drugs, needles on the street. But instead of focusing on those types of problems, they're spending taxpayer dollars on weight neutrality consultants. This is left-wing lunacy at its finest. Let's just be honest here. Encouraging people to be healthy is not discrimination. Promoting a culture where we just ignore obesity and pretend it has no impact on health, that's wrong. It's dangerous. We're in the middle of an obesity epidemic that's leading to skyrocketing rates of diabetes, heart disease is rising, and other preventable illnesses. And now, instead of addressing the problem, San Francisco's hiring someone to try to make it offensive. And look, who knows? They may arrest people. If someone denounces fat people, they may arrest them. They may turn it into a crime. Who's pushing this nonsense? The same crowd that wants DEI policies in every corner of society. This Miss Tovar offers DEI corporate training. Her clients include the Seattle Transit Agency, UC Berkeley, and a whole list of those leftist organizations. And this is just another example of how the left's obsession with wokeness is making us sicker, making us weaker, and dividing us at the same time. Instead of encouraging people to take responsibility, helping people to become healthy, they're promoting a message of acceptance over accountability. At a time when, thank goodness, it appears we're seeing this whole DEI thing becoming unpopular. American Airlines, for example, has reportedly agreed to end its diversity, equity, and inclusion program. We've heard other companies after the election who have said they are disbanding their DEI programs. American Airlines finally backing off of the woke agenda and getting back to focusing on merit and competence over political correctness. And that's how every company should be. Nobody should get a job because of the color of their skin. No one should be excluded from a job because of the color of their skin either. This whole American thing comes after the watchdog group America First Legal, AFL, filed a complaint against American Airlines accusing them of violating federal laws by using race and sex-based discrimination in their hiring and promotion practices. They were right to call them out. American Airlines received over $140 million in federal contracts since 2008, which means they're supposed to follow equal employment opportunity laws, not use woke quotas to check DEI boxes. And that's what they were doing, like so many other large woke companies. According to the AFL, American Airlines admitted that their DEI hiring practices were a violation of federal laws and agreed to end these practices immediately. Will Scoliso, counsel for AFL, put it perfectly. American companies must return to using merit, not the desire to check a DEI box to select the most skilled and qualified employee. Amen to that. And particularly with the airlines, because I don't want someone sitting in the pilot seat because somebody thought it was politically correct to hire them, not because they were qualified to be there. Now, American Airlines isn't the only airline in hot water over DEI. Earlier this year, AFL filed similar complaints against United Airlines and Southwest Airlines. Remember, United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby proudly declared that 50% of their pilot classes would be women or people of color. Now, how do you do that? How do you declare that half of your new classes are going to be women or people of color when you don't even know who's going to apply. That's not hiring based on skill. That's hiring based on identity politics. And when people call them out, they face some serious backlash. Because guess what? When you're, again, 30,000 feet in the air, people care about the competence of the pilot, not whether they checked a diversity box. United and Southwest have since agreed to end their discriminatory hiring practices as well. Southwest is still trying to play both sides, though. Their website still talks about diverse candidate slates, and they denied rolling back their DEI policies. The Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs told Southwest to follow the regulations. Let's see what they actually do, though. And let's not forget the FAA, the same agency that's supposed to keep our skies safe. Earlier this year, the FAA faced backlash as well for promoting DEI hiring initiatives that including recruiting workers with severe intellectual disabilities and psychiatric problems. I'm sorry, but shouldn't the people responsible for aviation safety be the best and the brightest? The people who are managing the traffic of thousands of flights every day? Remember the Boeing 737 MAX 9 incident where a plug door blew out mid-flight? Social media exploded. People rightly questioned whether DEI initiatives were making our skies less safe. When safety and lives are on the line, we need to hire people based on their skills and experience. End of sentence. Not because they fit a woke agenda. Here's the bottom line. Companies like American Airlines, I think, and like Walmart and some of the others who have recently said they're scrapping that whole part of their hiring practices, I think they're finally waking up and realizing that DEI quotes are not just illegal, they're dangerous, particularly in some of these industries like the airlines. Merit and competence must come first, especially in industries where people's lives are at stake. This is a huge win for common sense, and hopefully it's just the beginning. Hopefully we're seeing this. This is going to be a trend as Donald Trump is sworn in office next month, and as his administration is able to fight these woke characters back. We need companies like American, and kudos to American for stepping up. But we need companies to step away from this woke insanity and get back to what makes America great. Hard work, merit, excellence, wanting to strive to do your best to achieve, not playing politics with our safety. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Things got a little fiery yesterday in the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. NCAA President Charlie Baker seemed to tell women's college athletes who are uncomfortable sharing their locker rooms with transgender athletes that the burden is on them to find other accommodations. It's the female athletes who have to move, not the biological males who are invading their safe spaces, according to Charlie Baker. Now, this all came out during the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday, where Senator Josh Hawley Senator John Kennedy, who had the quote of the day I'll share with you in a minute, and Senator Marsha Blackburn took Mr. Baker to task over the NCAA's insane policies. Hawley confronted Mr. Baker about the rule that allows, quote, transgender student athletes to use the locker room, shower, and toilet facilities in accordance with their gender identity. Mr. Baker's response: if women feel uncomfortable, they can go somewhere else.
Locker room, shower, and you have a pending lawsuit right now from female athletes who are suing you because you allow biological men not only in their sports but also in their locker rooms. Why do you do that, by the way? Why do your guidelines allow biological men into women's locker rooms without the women's consent, without the women's foreknowledge? Why do you do that?
That's not what our guidelines say.
They do say that. I've got them right here. Your guidelines say that transgender student athletes should be able to use the locker room, shower, and toilet facilities in accordance with their gender identity. And here they are, right here.
And then everybody else should have an opportunity to use other facilities if they wish to do so.
Okay, so the burden's on the women. So if the women then want to move to a different facility, in other words, if they want to abandon their own locker room, you're saying that they should have to do that? So in other words, it's their problem?
No, we put a significant amount of emphasis on what the locals' plans are, and we make sure that everybody.
What does that mean, the locals' plans?
Whoever it is that's hosting the event.
You have guidelines that instruct them what the best practices are, and your guidelines say that biological men can go in and use the women's locker rooms if they want to. What the women want has nothing to do with it. They're not mentioned in here at all. Correct? Correct. It's right here. You just reaffirmed them in May of this year. I've got them. I'm reading them. I've got them off your website.
I believe our guidelines give people optionality with respect to how they choose to use their facilities. And many,
what does that even mean? Optionality. What it says is transgender student athletes will be able to use the locker room, shower, and toilet in accordance with their gender identity. That means men will be able to use the women's locker rooms. And as Riley Gaines and others have testified before this committee, that means if a man, a biological man, wants to use their locker room, they just have to accept it. Or else the women have to go somewhere else. They've got to go find an alternative. Why is that fair?
We told the local folks who've hosted our tournaments they need to create accommodations for the people who are playing.
You know, so it's the feds on the one hand, it's the locals on the other hand. The only person who doesn't seem to bear any responsibility in this is you and the NCAA, who are the governing body. And your testimony here today is you're not even subject to Title IX. Mr. Baker, I can't tell you how disappointed this makes me, but not just disappointed, frankly, infuriated for the student athletes who are suffering because of your policies, and you won't even defend them. You won't even take responsibility. It's outrageous. It's totally outrageous.
Yeah, and that was Senator Josh Hawley grilling NCAA President Charlie Baker. Now, Baker said everybody else should have an opportunity to use other facilities if they wish to do so. So in other words, ladies, if you're not comfortable changing next to a biological male, that's your problem. That is absolutely outrageous. And this guy really developed, he had some attitude with Hawley during the questioning. And when Senator John Kennedy asked Baker if biological males have a physical advantage over female athletes, Baker initially dodged, saying it's debatable. There's nothing debatable about whether or not a man has an advantage over a woman in sports, in women's sports. I mean, really, Charlie? Are we still pretending there's no difference between men and women in competitive sports? Finally, after Senator Kennedy pressed him, Baker admitted, well, yes, I would agree with you. It took him a while to come around to that, though. Here's the deal. The NCAA is hiding behind federal law and recent court rulings to justify this madness. Baker keeps mentioning these 5 lawsuits in the last 18 months that supposedly enabled trans athletes to compete in women's sports. But Senator Hawley pointed out that none of these rulings actually forced the NCAA to adopt these policies. This is the NCAA's choice. They're choosing to portray female athletes and ignore the Title IX protections. The Title IX protections that women fought for years ago so they could have women's sports. Now, this clown is sitting back and saying the NCAA can do nothing about biological males invading women's sports. And let's give a shout out to my favorite, John Kennedy, for telling Baker exactly what needed to be said. The line of the day was when Senator Kennedy said, why don't you go to Amazon and buy a spine online and take a stand? Listen to it.
You folks at the NCAA don't do anything except sit there, watch, cash your checks, and suck on your teeth.
I would argue that we've made a lot of progress on a bunch of those
Why don't
issues.
you take a position on transgender biological males competing against females? You just told me it wasn't fair.
There's a federal standard on this is one that we would work with you on if you wish to work on it.
Why don't you do it on your own? Why don't you stand up and say in front of God and country, federal law is wrong, and the NCAA believes in fair competition. We also believe in equality. If you want to, in America, you can be whatever you want to be. You can be whomever you want to be. But our job is to promote fairness in sports.
Our job.
Biological males are not going to be allowed to compete against biological females. Why don't you go to Amazon and buy a spine online and take a stand?
That is classic John Kennedy. Amen to that. NCAA needs to stand up for women's rights and fair competition instead of caving to the woke mob. It's just that simple. Now, for those who say, well, it's not hurting anyone for males to compete in women's sports, it's not really hurting this. Well, tell that to Peyton McNabb, the 17-year-old high school athlete with dreams of playing college sports. That was until 2022 when a volleyball spiked by a transgender competitor struck her in the head, knocked her unconscious, and changed her life forever. McNabb suffered a traumatic brain injury, a brain bleed, partial paralysis, and loss of peripheral vision. She still has to deal with debilitating headaches 2 years later. She has memory loss. She has anxiety. Her college athletic dreams, they're gone. She'll never play competitive sports again. And all this could have been avoided if fairness in women's sports was actually prioritized over political correctness. This young lady, Ms. Knabb, summed it up perfectly when she said it was 100% avoidable.
There's still things I'm having to deal with today, and it's just completely aggravating because it was 100% avoidable. If only my rights as a female athlete had been more important than a man's feelings. Nobody ever apologized. The male athlete that did injure me, he did reach out to me right after I spoke out for the first time, just to let me know that he was living rent-free in my head.
Wow, she's right, isn't she? If only her rights as a female athlete had been more important than this man's feelings. She nailed it. And imagine this guy sending her text messages, taunting her, telling her that he's living in her head. Wow. She never identifies who he is. She does. Her story is being documented in an online documentary called Kill Shot: How Peyton McNabb Turned Tragedy into Triumph. If you'd like to watch it, go to my website, joeyhudson.com, and just scroll down and you'll see it in my recommended videos there. Kill Shot: How Peyton McNabb Turned Tragedy into Triumph. I have the link on my website at joeyhudson.com. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.